Welcome back. Welcome back. Okay, this session, everybody hear me okay? We're good? Is entitled Club Treasurer Dacdb Financial Module. And Lynn is actually works for Dacdb, is on our call. Very helpful person up in Georgia. I know I've asked that again, Lynn, but
nope, down in North Carolina.
North Carolina.
Up to North Carolina for you.
North Carolina.
Yep.
Well, Lynn Kelly is with Dacdb, and she's going to help us walk us through a financial module of Dacdb. Thanks for being with us, Lynn. We appreciate your time, and I know maybe Mark's on the call as well.
Yes, Mark is on the call, and he's going to join in at the end of my presentation to share some of the new things we're adding to this.
Okay, awesome. Take it away, Lynn.
Okay. Okay, hopefully you can see that. So here's a few of the things I'm going to demonstrate when showing you the Dacdb financial module. As John talked about in his presentation, this is one of the tools you can be doing to track all of the things John talked about. So we're going to cover the setup, the chart of accounts, invoices, charge codes, recording and printing checks, recording deposits, your journal entries, what your member dues receivable look like, your statements, and some reports. So hopefully you see Dacdb now. And I'm in our fictitious club called Hollywood. And I'm going to go right to our club finance module.
Lynn, I think he's still showing a PowerPoint.
Okay, let's see here. Share. Is that better?
Oh, yeah.
Okay. So when you're in Dacdb, if you do subscribe to the finance module, you will see this club finance icon. And so once you click the icon on, you come into your module. The first thing down here, you're going to see who has access to this. The nice thing about using the finance module is you could have your board of directors included here and give them read-only access, which means they can go in and print reports if they want. They can look at things. They just can't touch anything. That's left up to the treasurer, the person that is involved with keeping the day-to-day transactions up to date. So on the left-hand side, we're going to just talk about the setup quickly. For those of you who already have the module, you know that you did have an extensive training when you first signed up, and anybody who does sign up will have that same extensive training. You will be able to pick your invoice templates, what template you want to use, the statement template. If you are going to use accept payments, you can set up your payment gateway here. We do offer all of these different payment gateways that you can use. And so you really don't have to worry about this right now. When you first start, you can pick a typical chart of accounts to use to get yourself started, but then you will create your own chart of accounts. And I'm going to quickly just show you the chart of accounts. So this is the Hollywood's chart of accounts. It's very easy to add an item by using the add up on the top right of the screen. You can customize this to any way you want. You can put your descriptions, your account numbers. You can have children under the different accounts. So it's totally up to you how you want to customize that. So let's just talk about how easy it is to use the different items in this module. We're going to start with the invoices. So the first thing you're going to do is set up different charge codes. What are you going to bill your members for? So we created some charge codes in advance. We're going to bill quarterly for district dues. We have some guest meals that we charge for quarterly. Some of our members want us to bill them for their donations. So we have some people that want to take $50 out a quarter, some $25. And then we have some Paul Harris Society members, and they want to have $250 per quarter deducted or added to their invoice. So once you set those charge codes up, then you can create your invoice. And when you click on invoice groups, you just add an invoice by clicking on this gold button. And this little box pops up. I'm going to go to one that I've created over here. So you put the period you're billing for. I'm going to say third quarter. I'm just going to put today's date and call it third quarter invoices. You can put your expected due date. I'll say, oh, let's give them to May 31st here. And then you can put a little message in here if you want this to appear on the invoice. So I've put in stay safe, wash your hands, keep a safe distance. So I'm going to save that. And now I'm ready to invoice my members. So I click on the invoice name. And now you'll see 3 columns. Here are all my members. In the center column, it gives you some information, general information. And on the right side are all my charge codes. So I'm going to bill all my members for the quarter. So all I have to do is put a check mark next to the member name. They'll automatically appear in the center. And right now, all of the amounts are 0. So first I'm going to talk about some of the things that we just bill now and then. For example, if our rule of 85 in our club, they only have to pay for their meals when they attend. So I am going to click that on. And here you can see Pierce Bronson is a rule of 85, so he was billed $15 for that. Then I'm going to check, here's our quarterly dues. So everybody is going to pay that for the quarterly dues. And then I'm going to put my TRF contributions. All 3 of these I'm going to add. And then we also add our RI quarterly dues onto this. So I'll click that one. And then the rule of 85, they pay a special amount for their quarterly invoices. And then we also bill ahead of time for meals. And then if one of our members makes up at another club, we give them a credit. So if they use the attendance module, you can track all of those makeups and any other type of meals. So we're also going to put anybody who had guests at the meeting and they're going to pay for their meals, we're going to bill them. And now the internet's slow, so we'll just. Okay. All right, so now when you're happy with all of your charges, before I post invoices, I'm going to just say this person here is a brand new member. So even though I checked off everything, I want to prorate that person's invoice. So I'm just going to put something special in here, and I'm just going to change this to say prorated dues, and I'm just going to say that this was only $30. And in my little message to them, I'm going to say your dues were prorated because you are a new member, and I'm going to save. Now I am ready to post my invoices. So there's a button up on the top right. Just click that on. It asks you to confirm that you're going to post this, and I'm going to say, okay. Now it gives me a summary. If you want to print this, you can. There's really no need to though. But now I want to send my emails to all of my members via Pmail. So I'm going to click that little button. And now I'm going to go into a template that's especially been created for this. And it is a system template. And since we allow credit cards, we're going to select the invoice for club dues to pay with a credit card. So I'm going to select that template. And now it populated my Pmail. And in the Pmail, there is a link that they will receive, which when they click on, will take them right to the invoice to pay with a credit card. So you can change the subject. And then simply all you have to do is click the send button. Since this is a fictitious club, I'm not going to do that. And then they'll get their invoices. So about maybe 3 weeks later, after you've sent the invoices, it's probably time to send a statement for anyone who hasn't paid. So you simply click on the statements on the left. And then I like to show the detailed items. So I'm going to select detailed. And then I don't want to send to anybody who has a zero balance or a credit balance. I just want to send to those that owe money. So I'm going to click on debit balance. And then it'll show everybody who still owes. And then all you have to do is click Pmail statements, and it's the same scenario. But this time you will select the template for statements. And just to give you an idea of what one looks like, let me just unclick everybody, and I'm just going to pick Jennifer here and click on view. So here's Jennifer's statement. And you can see that all of her transactions are there. She owns $319 and she's current. It actually shows the breakdown down on the bottom. So you can look at these, you can print them if you wanted to. You're probably going to spend most of your time in the accounting tab. This is where you have your bank account information and all those invoices that you sent to your members. You can find all that information under the member dues receivable. So when you click that on, you'll find each member listed. If you just click on their name, you can see what their balance is presently. Credit card payments, this is a spot where when they do pay by credit card, it automatically goes here. And then as you get your bank statement and you get the log with all of those credit cards that were processed in a day, then you could move these over as a deposit to your bank account. And then once you're in your bank account, this is where you would record your check. So it automatically remembers the last check number. If you have some of the vendors set up, it's automatically going to remember that. So I'm going to say we're going to pay our Visa bill. As soon as you start typing, the Visa bill pops up, puts in the address, and then you can actually list all the different accounts this particular Visa bill was for. When John was talking about the club that changed over to credit card, this would be really handy for them because they can just keep adding accounts here, whatever they might be. I'll just pick a few of them from our chart of accounts. Your chart of accounts automatically pops up when you're doing this. So you just have to pick the right account for your different amounts. You can put the whole check amount here. And then as you're putting the different amounts in, it changes the amount down here, and then you'll know when you get to the end, it should be a zero balance. So you can keep entering them and keep entering them until you're finished. I'm just going to cancel this one and show you when I've done. So here's the check that I previously wrote here. It was for dictionary project, printing, and pets. And so that was check number 137. So that's the one that went out. And you can also enter your deposits. So for those members that are still going to pay by check, this is where you would enter that information. And anybody who has been invoiced, no matter what the invoice was for, you're going to make sure that you're putting that information under the members tab. So I'm going to add a line, and I'm just going to put a check number in here. And I'm going to say, start typing the last name of the member. Their list pops up. You just grab their name, put their amount. And then you may have other things that you want to deposit that day. So maybe you have things like Happy Dollars. I don't know if we have one in here for that. I'll just pick one here. I don't think I set that up. So I'll just, here we go, club members, Happy Dollars. I'm going to say we collected $1,000 that day. So it accumulates the total deposit. When you save the deposit, it'll actually summarize it, and you can print this. You can take this to the bank if you want, if you put your deposit number on here. If they don't accept that, but you at least have this backup, and you can just put the total on your deposit slip and take that in with you. And then, of course, there's a journal entry button. So if you do have to make an adjustment to something, this is good for bank charges, to record your bank charges each month. So that's how you would use the journal entry. At the end of the month, you can simply go over to your bank reconciliation, and everything is just like a regular bank statement. All you have to do is check off the items that apply, make sure you have the correct starting date. You won't, once you do this for the first time, the balance will always be there for the next statement. You put the ending balance in, and then the difference should end up to be 0. So all you do is check these off each month. Once you're finished, you will go up to the top, and there will be a, well, let's see if I don't know if it'll come up here. This has to equal 0. So I'll just put any amount in here. Well, just so that you know, I'm not going to do the math now, but once it's balanced to 0, you'll be able to click on reconcile, and then it'll put a lock on all of these transactions. You also might want to print your checks. So you just check off the checks that you want to print that you've made, and we have a little check format here. We have several different check formats that people told us they've used. So we've set that up automatically for you, and then you can just print your checks. And then you talked about the budget. So you can put your budget in here. You can put the annual amount of the budget. And then if you just want to distribute it across each month, you can just simply click these little arrows to make it even across every month. Or you can put numbers in per quarter, whatever you want to establish your budget. And then the reports, we have all those reports that John was talking about. You can click on your balance sheet, make sure you pick the date you want, and you refresh, and then here's your balance sheet. You can also do the budget versus actual. You can do your check detail or all of your deposits, your aging to see what your aging summary or aging detail is. Down here, when we had the contributions, you can do a contribution report so that you can actually print a report for all the people that donated to the foundation, and then you can print that report and send it along with your check to the foundation. So that's always a handy report to use. And then the last item here is your year-end closing. So at the end of the year, you're able to just go ahead, close the year out on just clicking this next, and you're able to close the year and start fresh July the 1st with your new year. So with that, that's the end of the demonstration on the finance module. I'm going to ask Mark if he could unmute himself to share what is coming up.
Okay. Can everybody hear me okay?
Yes.
Let me, so Lynn, can you stop screen sharing and I will screen share?
Yes.
Okay. So I think I can screen. So let's do this. Okay. So one of the things I want to talk about, you talked about in the previous session, was recurring club payments. And that's one of the things that's coming up on Dacdb. So if I go into, I'm in Lynn's district and I'm on my local system right now. But if I go into club finance, in Lynn's district, and those that have used the finance module, you know you can set up multiple. So Lynn set up her club account and she set up a foundation account. So I'm going to click and use the club account. And I'm going to go over here to setup. And I'm going to go over to payments. And I've selected IP Pay, that's our vendor. And one of the new features that's down here will be enable EFT payments, basically recurring payments and a recurring email that you can set up to. So this will turn on the ability to do the recurring payments and so forth, the electronic funds transfer, and it'll set up and establish the email that you want to get notifications to that happen behind the scenes as these automatic payments set up. So this would be like the treasurer's email or the secretary's email that you would put in there. So you would do that, save that. So now what I'm working on is I want to make it easier for the members to deal with this and see their finances. So there used to be this club financial statement link over here. I'm building a new one that's basically called like the Financial Center. So if the member clicks on this, the member will come in, will say, hi, Lynn, you've scheduled a recurring payment for $100. What do you want to do? Member could come in and view their invoices, for example, and see what their recent invoices have been. By clicking on the little eye there, they can pull those up. Or the member can go back into the system, and I'll explain that in a second. And the new feature would be, I want to create a recurring payment. So if a member comes in, the member will not have a drop down here. If a club officer comes in, basically a level 3+, the club officer will have the option to select one of the members from the list. Okay, you can pick a different member, and if you do that, the screen should refresh and go back and do the whole thing. So where was Lynn? So I'm just going to go back. I want to just go back and just be Lynn here. So create a recurring payment. So there's a couple choices with recurring payments. One is the interval that you want to pay. So you're going to be able to set up a recurring payment that you can immediately pay monthly, pay quarterly, pay semi-annually, or pay yearly. If you set up an immediate payment, what's going to happen is when the invoice gets posted, that early the next morning, that's immediate, early the next morning, the amount due for the invoice will be paid in full if the amount you put here is 0. If I put some other amount here, like say $100, only $100 will be paid on that invoice. So for example, a typical thing might be if you know your monthly quarterly dues is say $300. you would typically come in here and say, I'm going to set up $300. I'm going to pay it quarterly. It's coming out of my electronic funds. So we're going to do the e-check. This is the bank transfer that was mentioned in the last session that's much cheaper for the club to use. Or I could use a credit card. So you can go either way. And if I do the electronic funds transfer, I can pick, it's coming out of my savings account, my checking account, or my business check. And in this case, if I say it's coming out of my checking account, I've got to put a routing number, some routing number in here and my account number in here. And I need to say, when does this start? So I can say, like, this is not going to start until April 30th, and it doesn't want to kick, of course, or 30/2020. If I leave the end date blank, the recurring payments will go forever. And if you're a club officer, you can put a little note in here like, I entered this for Lynn. So sometimes members, a little challenge, can't get into the system. They'll give you your routing number, your bank account, or your credit card. So the club officer might put it in, so they can put a little note in here and so forth. And we would save this payment. So again, different options, electronic funds transfer, credit card payments, different payments, schedules, if you will. If you put a zero amount in, the amount on the full outstanding balance will be paid via the EFT. Now, as a member, when I go back to like the financial center, I might say, I want to manage my recurring payments. So if I come in here and click, I will get a list of, I've set up a recurring payment. So Lynn set up this. It's being paid by a credit card, not EFT. The amount is $100. It's being paid quarterly. It starts on March 1st. It goes forever. And I will show here, and this is a problem that I've got right now, but the last payment would be here. And then here's my payment history. So as months go on, you'll be able to see the history of what got paid. And in this case, I kind of faked in here. I got a return code of 999. Some error occurred. And I just faked in this data just for the demo purposes today. So you would be able to see that, there was a problem for some reason with the 123 payment, and the error that you got would be shown here and so forth. So the members can basically come in here and manage their payment. And if they come in here and click on this, they can change their frequency, they can change their amount. What they can't do is change their payment processing, the payment method. And the reason for that is Dacdb does not store credit card information or store the bank information. So when you actually create the subscription for a payment, we take you over, in this case, to IP Pay, and we tokenize the information, the bank information, the credit card information, and we get a token back. So the token is basically a string of characters that identifies the credit card in IP Pay or the bank information in IP Pay. So when we run the charges, we simply run a token. We store the token. The token is meaningless to anybody that gets it, but we can use it to pay your bill and process your credit card and your check that you've set up on the account. So that's pretty much it. So this will be online this weekend, probably at the end of the weekend, for people to start setting up their recurring payments if they're on IP Pay. And if you come in here, for example, it'll tell you that you've got a recurring payment set up, or if there isn't a recurring payment set up, it'll tell you that there is no recurring payment and you have the option to set it up. For demo purposes, I showed both of these. If you don't have a recurring payment set up, the only thing you'll be able to do is to create one. And then once you've created it, you can manage it. So it'll be one of these two buttons that'll appear depending on the member. And then from the treasurer of the club, there'll be some links over here. You might have noticed that on Lynn's screen, that you'll be able to click on and manage the recurring payments for the member, see what's going on, see the transactions and so forth. So that's it.
Okay, let me check in the chat room for any questions. Henry Wood is asking, can you upload the budget from an Excel spreadsheet?
No, but that wouldn't be that hard to do if you had if you gave me a budget that had like the account numbers, something like this. It would almost be easier if I gave you the ability to extract this to Excel. Like I think if I do this to Excel now, it basically opens it up. If you really wanted one and said, if you took the blank one, essentially that's here, and you wanted to fill it out, and you wanted to give it back to me, I'd be willing to write the import that would take this format and put it back into the system.
Okay, so that's something that you could add in the future.
It's something I definitely could add. Yep.
And right now you can very easily be in Dacdb and download to an Excel spreadsheet.
Right, that's right there. You can download it to Word. And, you know, honestly, it's pretty simple to put it in. Like if I need badges and pins, there's two ways to put a budget in. I could say, I got $1,000 for my annual budget, and I can basically click this button and spread it across here. Or I can simply say, something like, say, club dues. Wherever club dues is here. Well, let's just say I knew something was coming in quarterly, and I wanted to come in every couple months and put $5,000 in or what have you here. I can simply plug it into the various months.
Okay. So Henry, you're still there? Does that answer your question or help? Let me go ahead and stop the share. We can put it back up if anybody has any questions about anything else.
I do, Rich.
And I think Kathy, I saw your hand up too as well. So Bo, go ahead, and then Kathy.
First of all, what is the annual charge for this module?
Well, it's different for different based on the size of your club. And if you're in Dacdb, you can go up to the top right to the shopping cart. And on the left, the finance module will be sitting there, and it will tell you what that is. We do have a special right now. I'm going to share my screen again. Let's see here.
Is this a blue light special?
Yes, it is. It's actually called a Corona special.
Okay.
So the finance module right now is 50% off the first year. And this is going to go through June the 30th. And then the setup fee is $149. It's normally $220 for the setup fee. But that includes your training with our finance staff. And they really do a thorough job. When they're done, you can actually hang up the phone, go to the invoices, and P-mail them to your members. That's how thorough it is.
Okay, and then what is the convenience charge that if I have members that want to pay by credit card or say bank transfer, how much is that charge back to the club?
That depends on the payment gateway that you select. We don't charge you anything for that.
So the third party banks and merchant fees, for example, Visa, by the time we get finished with Visa and QuickBooks, it's about a 3.2% charge for credit card. Bank transfers run about 1%.
Well, IP Pay is very similar to those rates. And Mark, you can jump in. I'm not sure exactly. Our club uses IP Pay as well as our district, and we've been very happy with the rates they've been charging.
IP Pay is under 3%. I think it's like 2.8%. Don't quote me on that, but it's under
Yeah.
the 3.
Yeah, they're all similar, Mark, because every time somebody touches it, there's a fee involved.
Right.
You're not going to get around it, so it's just a matter. If it's outlandish, I found Amex to be the most expensive, but they are also for the merchants. I mean, essentially, we are a merchant in that respect. With the members.
So there's a setup. There's under the setup payment screen. I think we blew by it. There's the ability to charge the member the convenience fee, and you can do it a flat rate, or you can do it by 1%.
Yeah, you know, we got away from that and just ate the charge, as John was talking about earlier. But that's up to each club. You know,
right?
Yeah, exactly. Is there an underlying software that you're using? For example, is like QuickBooks or Intuit, or is this something that you built up yourself?
No, this was sort of modeled after years ago, RICAS or ClubMate. There was an access program that some of the clubs had written, and it was a VB database. And somebody sent me that as an example to say, you know, this is a club thing. So this is basically a homegrown finance module and reporting package that I put together over the last, you know, this version probably over the last 4 or 5 years that we're using.
Got it. Okay.
You know,
And Bo, one thing I have to say is Mark really takes into consideration the ideas that members come up with. How can we improve it? What are you looking for? That's why you can see how Rotary focused it is. And, you know, we understand the lingo, the Rotary lingo.
Yeah, you know, the issue that I had to struggle with this year with QuickBooks was, number one, I had to learn it. And number two, I had to quickly figure out how to automate a lot of the processes so that it was easier, you know, for the next person. But, you know, it's got its warts as well as its pluses too. So I think the challenge for any club, Lynn, would be are you going to go through the pain of making a transition again? Mm-hmm. That's really the issue. And I think it'll be club by club treasurer trying to figure that one out.
Right. And I have to say our finance group, they do a great job with trying to help them transition. You know, we don't say, here it is, go for it. You know, we're there to hold your hand.
Yeah. The other question would be if, for example, if the clubs have a CPA who does the audit, right? Making sure that they're comfortable with it so that they can go back in, look at everything and understand it without having to learn it all over again. You know, if they're using QuickBooks Online, for example, that's something that most accounting firms are using. So how do you make the Dacdb financial module seamless to them, Mark? And this is more for you, I think, to where somebody could come in and audit it and not be wasting a lot of time and costing you a lot of money.
Well, I mean, you can certainly set up your accountant as a guest member of your club and then give that guest member access to the system. You can also spin off any number of the reports and send it to them and say, you know, here's the data.
Yeah, I think that's the only thing that you would have to work out. I only bring that up just so for clubs that are thinking about this is to make sure that their accountants are comfortable with it. That's all.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
And we do have a lot of CPAs that, you know, clubs work with, and we seem to address a lot of the issues that they've had questions about. So
good.
You know,
Kathy, Kathy's been patiently raising her hand there. I hope your arm's not tired, Kathy.
Yes, it's very tiring, very tiring. I have 2 questions related to recurring expenses. So if you've set up somebody with a recurring, let's say monthly payment even, and then we have occasional charges during the year that happen on top of the regular dues, how would that get paid for if they're on the recurring payment? So I'll let you answer that, and then I have one more question.
So if you set up a fixed amount for the recurring payment, right? That fixed amount is going to happen on schedule, right? So if you bill a member an extra $100 for something, they're not going to get billed that extra $100 unless you set the amount to zero, right? If you set the payment, the recurring payment amount to zero, it would pay off their balance when their payment happened.
Okay.
We're giving you sort of two options there. If you set up normal bills are $300 a quarter, you set it up for $300 a quarter, and somewhere during a quarter you throw an extra $100 on their bill. $300 is going to be paid off on that quarter. $100 is going to be left over for the next quarter. That doesn't stop the member from coming in and making a payment, a manual payment, or an EFT payment for that $100 during the quarter.
Okay. And my second question is, if they've changed credit cards, and so they were set up with a recurring payment, that credit card's no longer good, how are we notified so that we can contact the member to get a new credit card?
Well, so in that error thing that I hooked up there, you're going to see that that transaction got rejected.
Okay.
And some email messages will come to you to say that that got rejected. So now the member is going to have to cancel that subscription, that recurring payment record, and put in their credit card or their bank account information again.
Okay.
Because we've tokenized it. So I don't have that information to just change the date or change the number. We have to go back and re-tokenize it with the vendor.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. We did have a question from Kelly. Do all our district clubs use this finance module? Is there a user group, or do we just go to Lynn? Question mark. And while I'm talking, I got a private message that said their club had purchased the module but have not received the extensive training reference. And how do we get that training? How do we sign up for it?
Oh, well, definitely contact support at dacdb.com and let us know who you are so we can look at it to see why. I don't know if you've paid for the subscription. That is the key. You have to pay for the subscription and then you get the training. But just contact us. And if you have any questions, just address it to support@dacdb.com or go to the help tab and call our phone number and one of us will help you.
And I can tell you that they're very responsive both through emails and phone. But not all clubs use the finance module. I don't know how many that have Dacdb also have the finance module. It is an add-on application. I don't know if there's a user group or is Lynn kind of the user group?
Well, there's Lynn, there's Wayne, there's Heather. You know, there's a bunch of us, myself, I primarily wrote it in Dacdb that understand the module that will help at any time. We just did a bunch of user videos from our user presentation that we did the last week or two. And so there's a number of videos that'll be under the help system on how to use it. We're working on reworking the help system so it's a little bit better organized so the club treasurer can find his or her videos that they're interested in. So it's there, and we could certainly start a user group.
Right. And also coming up on May the 5th, we are going to have one of our half-hour programs, 20 minutes of content, 10 minutes of questions and answers, and we're strictly only going to cover invoice and statements. So we're really going to focus on that, and we're going to try to fit those finance sessions in between our regular Dacdb tutorials because the finance module we do charge for, and we're not trying to make a sales pitch on it, but for those people that use it, we want to offer them something too.
Okay, the related Jimmy Z posted there is apparently within Rotary exchange ideas. There's a group that is actually a Dacdb user group. Jim, if you could,
Yeah.
publish
Yes,
that,
yeah, right. We have one on RI.
can you publish that link on directly to the whole group? And then we'll have it for the
I
record.
could do that. Yep.
And then another question, is there a Facebook group page? Do we know that?
It'd be easy enough to go to Facebook and find out.
Yeah, we have a Dacdb Facebook page, not just devoted to the finance, but we do have one.
Okay. Okay, any other questions? I do have,
I will send, Rich, I'll send you the promo codes and you can distribute that.
okay,
Look like Hewitt might have had a question.
Yeah, I've got a quick question. I tried, there was an email for a training session this Tuesday of this week that was sent out from Dacdb.
Yep.
And I logged onto it and it was kind of frustrating because there was quite a few people like me. I could not get the sound system to work.
Yes.
And I corresponded about that to tech support, but never heard out why we were shut out. There was
What-
like way toward the half, maybe about 3/4 of the way through, somebody posted a telephone number, but I kind of never really got back into it.
Well, it was a little snafu. We really know how to use this GoToWebinar, but when you first get into it, the presenters are in a waiting room, much like Zoom sometime, and we were all in the waiting room, and our presenter forgot to turn on the button to let everybody in. So that is what happened. We did finally realize she didn't press the button. So we did press the button and started a little late. And then we did extend it a little bit so people had time to answer. But that was a very good learning experience for us.
Okay, I definitely want to plug back into it.
anything else? I did a random number generator. Number 7 is going to be assigned out of the 29 that are still on the call. And that person will get a $25 gift certificate to a restaurant of their local choice. And we will announce that shortly after Saturday's sessions close. Let me check my chat. I got a couple more. Okay. Jimmy posted the RI group and the Facebook group for Dacdb. Thank you, sir. This has been very helpful for me. I hope you guys got some value at it. And these folks at Dacdb are highly reachable, and any additional questions, you can reach out to them. I know Patty has a set of skills as well. Marie does. So we have some skill in the district as well as support from Dacdb itself. I'm going to officially adjourn our meeting.
Thank you, everyone.
Service above self, you guys. We'll see you in 20 minutes, 12 minutes, it looks like, for the next session, if you care.
Okay.